everyone. I've been really into mushroom coffee and coffee alternatives for a few years now, and I'm big into the research as to what exactly is in them and what the science says those actually do for our bodies and our minds. So I've been doing a ton of comparing and contrasting both of the data and the research papers, but also just taste testing. And I'll have to do a second part video when I have more to taste test. But I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison of the three I've been using. Full disclaimer, I've been using them for quite some time actually, but I've just never done a side-by-side. So the first one I want to go over is actually my favorite. This is VitaCup Shroom Fuel. It comes in little handy serving packets. These are great for travel and on the go. They're not so great for the environment with the packets. And if you want to have like a half a cup, like for this, because this is a ton of mushroom coffee alternative, I made 3 half servings. So this one is tougher because I now have half of the packet just kind of chilling in my cabinet. Now, this one has all of those adaptogenic mushrooms. And so if you're not familiar with adaptogens, they are plants that help us naturally relieve stress in the body. They help with sleep, they help with calm energy, they reduce anxiety, and some of them even help boost mood. So these are great for anyone who has feelings or is working with feelings of depression or anxiety, as well as anyone who's just feels a crash from caffeine in the middle of the afternoon. So this first one, Shroom Fuel, I mix it up and they tend to all kind of settle. So I made these maybe about 10 minutes ago now, just give it a little swish. This one's just by far my favorite. It has a base, there's no actual coffee in this one. There's no kind of caffeine from there. It's a base of cacao, and it also has Ceylon cinnamon, which is the more expensive cinnamon. It's got a higher percentage of the really important nutrient dense compounds for our bodies and less of compounds that aren't great for us. So this one has strong taste of cacao, so chocolate. Cacao is cocoa powder, so unsweetened chocolate, but it's also unprocessed. So this is really great with the cacao and the cinnamon, and then that kind of complex of mushrooms. This one here is mud water. So if you've seen, mud water has ads everywhere on Instagram and social media. And so this is mud water. It has an interesting color to it. It's a little bit, if you can see from here. No, you can't see very well. It's got like a lighter color to it. And this one has a base of cacao, but of also chai, so masala chai in here. So there's a little bit of caffeine, it's not much at all. If I'm remembering correctly, it's 35 milligrams per cup. An average cup of coffee will be like 80 to 90. So this has the cacao in it, but it also has the masala chai in addition to the mushrooms. And this one I've noticed does tend to settle a little more and can be a little bit more difficult to fully swirl to reincorporate everything. And the taste is a little bit spicier, a little bit earthier, whereas this one tastes more like chocolate and then cinnamon, almost like a fancy spiced hot chocolate. This one does have that slightly earthier, you can taste something healthy happening in there. Shout out also, this cup is from the Lofoten Islands in northern Norway, my favorite place in the world. And then the third one that I've been using, this is Nourishing Nutrients Organic Mushroom Superfood Extract Powder. So this, it's super small. This bag has 60 servings in it because a serving is 1/4 of a teaspoon. So my half glass here only has 1/8 of a teaspoon in it. So this doesn't have any cacao, it doesn't have any chai. There's no, I wouldn't say fillers, because chai and cacao are super nutrient dense in their own right. They're their own superfoods, but this is just the mushrooms. So this one I add, well, I guess for all of these, I really like chocolate. I really like cacao. and I really believe in the benefits of cacao. So I buy these nice big bags of organic cacao, just off Amazon. Honestly, I really like this brand. It's Viva Naturals Organic, but I've used other ones in the past. This one is the best bang for your buck as far as organic cacao powder on sale. So I use, for each one of these, I will use 1 serving, so a packet, a tablespoon, or a fourth of a teaspoon with 1 tablespoon of this. Except for sometimes I add a little extra here because a fourth of a teaspoon is way different. So it kind of depends. And some mornings I add a little extra because it's a little bit extra energy. Cacao powder, cacao has a very, very minimal amount of caffeine, but it has theobromine in it, which is a natural energy boost without any kind of crash. So I do really like this stuff. It's also really rich in a lot of minerals that are great for you. So I add that. I have about 1.5 tablespoons of the cacao in here with the mushroom extract powder. They're just all so good. It honestly tastes like different types of hot chocolate. This one definitely taste-wise is my favorite because you can taste the sweetness of the cinnamon. This one is my second favorite, and then the mud water is my least favorite, just because it has that earthier taste. I don't know, I feel like I can taste the mushrooms a little bit more, and it settles a little bit more. I personally also am just more at a time in my life where I'm avoiding caffeine, so I prefer to avoid the masala chai. When I'm serving these for myself, I always add agave. So all of these have a little splash of agave, splash of plant milk. I prefer oat or soy, but honestly, any plant milk I like. And then I always add cinnamon. And I don't have the Ceylon cinnamon. I just bought a big thing of, Kroger brand cinnamon from the grocery store. So I'm working on finishing that up, and then I'll invest in that healthier, nicer cinnamon, the Ceylon cinnamon. One thing that I do recommend, and I had it on my little table here it is, is getting a frother. This frother makes a world of difference as far as the settling at the bottom, and that's natural, it's gonna happen. Even if you've got just cacao and hot water, the cacao will settle over time. So this, you just press the button. I just finished using it, so I cleaned it. There's a little water on there that just sprayed me. But I don't know if you can tell how it's just kind of like turning around in a circle, and it just whips everything up really nicely. If you have a good amount of plant-based milk in there, it'll froth it too. I had a cheap one off Amazon. This one actually came with mud water. Says it on there. The mud water starter kit. I really like it. I do like this one a little bit more than my Amazon one. Tip, if you go straight in when you hit it, when you start it, it could kind of cause an overflow, but if you put it at an angle, it's less likely to flow over. Even then, I still do it over the sink. I will not be demoing here because I've had quite a few times of flying cacao mushrooms recently. So that's it as far as these 3 recommendations. As far as taste, for efficacy, and this is not something that I've done scientifically, this is very much just when I personally am drinking these 3 over the past just shy of a month now. Anecdotally, I've noticed that I do feel the energy and a little bit of a mood boost with the VitaCup. And then these 2, not as much. But again, that's anecdotal evidence. That's just me on a day-to-day. I have not been tracking anything. One thing to keep in mind if you're interested in these mushroom coffee alternatives, some do come with coffee, or like mud, comes with masala chai, or no other caffeine at all. But one thing to look at is there's this big debate over fruiting bodies or mycelium. So fruiting body is like if you were to go to the store and buy white mushrooms, or if you were to buy, I don't know, baby bella mushrooms, you hold them in your hand. That is considered the fruiting body of the mushroom. Mycelium are almost like the little hair-like roots that are under the surface of the soil that are attached to the mushroom. And so it is faster and more cost effective for these mushroom powders to include the mycelium, either with or instead of the actual fruiting body of the mushroom. And so I haven't read much research as to whether there's more efficacy in the fruiting bodies over the mycelium. But with the mycelium, a lot of times those roots are grown on oats. And so if you have any kind of oat allergy or wheat allergy, depending on what it is, some people can be super sensitive, oats with gluten. I'm gluten intolerant, I'm fine with oats, but just to be aware that there can be in these mycelium-based mushroom coffee alternatives, there can be traces of oats. I haven't noticed a difference in efficacy. The mud water definitely uses mycelium. The nourishing nutrients, doesn't. It's 100% fruiting bodies, which is really great. VitaCup, I have not found one way or the other because they don't advertise that they're 100% fruiting bodies. I would guess that it's mycelium. But again, anecdotally, this is the one that I've noticed the best effects of. One last super important note is these mushrooms, any adaptogens really, any adaptogens, if you've heard of ashwagandha or holy basil, all of these adaptogenic mushrooms, they do change brain chemistry. And that's what's so great about them and how they help us to fight stress and help with feelings of anxiety or depression. They actually affect the levels of neurotransmitters. So that's really fantastic, but also means we have to be super careful in talking with our doctor if we want to start incorporating these into our daily routine. And sometimes if we're going to even take them once. So especially if someone's on antidepressants, that can be a huge interaction that can have negative effects. So if you take any daily medications, it can never hurt to just check with your doctor before incorporating any of these adaptogenic mushrooms into your diet. And I'm going to really enjoy the rest of these 3 cups. And then hopefully in a couple of weeks, once I use up all of these, and this is my 2nd pack of these because I do love them so much. So I will keep these on hand. But I'll test out, I'll cycle through some other mushroom powders too and do another review. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any resources or suggestions for other ones I can try. I'm like totally geeking out about these right now. So I would love to continue the conversation.